What's up guys, Scopetactics here with something a little different from World of Tanks this week. We've been covering normal tanks for, well, I say normal tanks, standard tanks for quite a while now. And today I thought I'd bring you something a bit different. So we're going to take a look at a self-propelled gun, SPG, Sky Cancer, Sky Pigs, Artillery, whatever you want to call them. And this one I've been having a lot of fun with. This is the Tier 6 French Artillery, the AMX 13 F3AM. Which some of you may know, some of you may not, but I believe it is one of the earliest artillery guns to get a gun that does 950 damage. Can fire just under 2 rounds a minute. It's pretty good actually. The reload time is actually, it seems pretty fast for the amount of damage you can dish out. Now I don't know if it's actually going to be a review, so I'm going to put it into a sort of new series I'm doing where it's not quite a review, but it's almost a review. I think I'm going to call it like, maybe a day in the life. A day in the life of the AMX 13 F3. Maybe something like that. But we're still going to go over the stats anyway, so for all intents and purposes, this can be considered a tank review without the Mastery Badge gameplay. Maybe that'll do. Anyway, so this tank is French, so you can expect speed. No armor, decent gun, you know, the usual stuff. No autoloader until tier 10 though. So it's got 270 hit points, which is bugger all, but it is an artillery. And it's only tier 6. Engine power, it doesn't need that much engine power because it's actually quite light. But this tank will go about 40 kilometers an hour. It's pretty damn fast. The traverse speed isn't great, but the speed in straight lines is pretty good. Allows you to maneuver quite quickly. Get clutch braking on this thing and I imagine it'll be a very maneuverable vehicle. Hull armor, nothing to worry about. You know, anything's going to go through that. Okay, let's have a look at the gun. We did have a brief look at it just now, but it does fire under 2 rounds a minute. 950 average damage with standard HE, 90mm penetration. 185mm penetration with 720 average damage with high explosive anti-tank. I would not recommend loading high explosive anti-tank as the impact from an artillery shell can be unpredictable at best. The accuracy isn't great at 0.78, so I wouldn't recommend it. There's too many times where the shot could just be eaten up by the tracks or whatever, spaced armor, so just stick with HE. It's got a 7-second aiming time, which isn't too bad actually. It can seem quite long, but it's not too bad. Equipment. You definitely want a gun rammer and a gun lane drive. Third slot is up to you. I opt for camo, but you could go with a binocular telescope, coated optics. A spall line I don't really think would be worth it. There's not that many choices. I'm not sure if the later tier French artillery can mount vents, but if it can I'd recommend it. Consumables. I'm cheap so I've got fire extinguishers, but by all means if you have strong coffee or want the best performance out of it, get strong coffee. Crew skills. Bring up their personal files. So you want to get brothers in arms on all of these as soon as possible. Until then, I'd recommend getting camouflage for everybody. Then retrain camouflage after you've trained on all 5 members into brothers in arms. Then you want to retrain to, don't know why I closed that, probably because it's a loader. Probably go for intuition on the loader, or camouflage again, your choice. For the second loader, again, pick the one you didn't pick on the first one. So if you picked intuition, maybe pick adrenaline rush if you survive another artillery splash or something, or no, safe stowage isn't going to do bugger all. I'd probably just go with camouflage or something. Don't get firefighting is largely pointless, but I guess if you really want to. The driver. Now the driver is really important. I wouldn't bother with preventative maintenance because you have such low HP that a fire is going to wreck you anyway. Or by the time, well, if it If you're going to be set on fire, you're probably going to be shot until you're dead. So I wouldn't really bother with that. You could get controlled impact if another light tank decides to try and ram you, but I wouldn't bother with that. Off-road driving can be good because French tanks are very fast, especially the artillery. Maneuverability on the artillery is ridiculous. So you could go with off-road driving. I'd recommend clutch braking as well. Smooth ride I would not recommend. You don't want to be firing on a moving artillery unless you're very desperate. And it won't work very well unless you're in the tier 10, which has a fully traversable turret. I'm not sure if the tier 9 has a fully traversable turret too, just without the autoloader. If you're unsure, go for camo. The gunner, you want to get, I think designated target only works if you spot the vehicle, so that's not going to be very handy. It could be, if it works the other way around. I'll have to look into that. Deadeye, only useful if you're firing AP, APCR or heat. I personally would not recommend Deadeye. I'd recommend Snapshot, however, because that will come in very handy for the later tiers which have turrets. Otherwise, Camouflage. And the Commander, I would not actually recommend Sixth Sense. It's not that useful in artillery. Chances are, if you can see the light tank coming towards you from everybody else who's spotting him, you know you're going to be spotted anyway. If you're desperate or just rely on Sixth Sense as a crutch, by all means take it. Otherwise, I'd recommend Mentor, Recon, Eagle Eye. Eagle Eye could be quite handy actually. Camouflage, because it's also the radio operator, situational awareness. Signal boosted, maybe, I don't know. I don't really mess with anything other than situational awareness on radio operators usually. Overall, I'd probably recommend Mentor. Mentor first, then Eagle Eye. I wouldn't really bother with Sixth Sense, to be honest. And that's that. Not to mention, this tank looks pretty badass. Definitely one of my favourite looking artillery pieces and my favourite French tank so far. So where does this sit on the line? Interestingly, if you don't want to go up the crappy French artilleries first, you can jump to it from the AMX 12T. Now, to get to it from the artillery, it will cost you 31,900 experience. If you want to go from the 12-ton, it will cost you 64,250 experience, so a little over double. But if you really don't like the lower tier French artillery, and I can't say I blame you, I mean, those two you'll go through quick. The 105 AM is alright, I guess. The 13 AM I didn't enjoy, but I can fire APCR, which is quite fun. And the 13 F3 is a barrel of laughs. Obviously not for the enemy team, but that's not what you're playing artillery for, right? Well, let's jump into a few games and see what this tank can do. Alright, so here's our first game. A tier 7 game on Fiery Salient. It is a standard battle. And I'm going to decide to position myself on the island to the east, because this artillery is fairly manoeuvrable, as I mentioned. Now, one weak spot to this artillery, which will give you difficulties, and will be demonstrated later in this video, is the lack of gun depression, which is 0. I think it actually is 0 degrees of gun depression, and the relatively flat firing arc of the gun. If you've played the Crusader SP, you can think of it as basically that vehicle. So we're just moving into position behind that bush in front of us, I think. I will be making use of the alternative artillery camera mod, which as far as I know at the moment is not banned. Please update me if that changes. I haven't played artillery for quite some time, and I thought that I would try it out and see what all the fuss is about. Personally, I don't think it gives a hell of an advantage, but it is helpful to know exactly where your shell is going to land. It is easier to aim. You can see I'm switching my fire, just seeing what I can get shots on. Probably should have just aimed straight over to the F line where the T-37 is, which I'm going to do now. There's nothing else to shoot at. The T-37 isn't moving even though he's been spotted, so he probably doesn't have sixth sense. My platoon mate puts a shot right into him, and I'm just aiming there to see if he gets spotted again. I decided to change my fire onto the hill, aiming at the KV-3, and I see the Sture Emil, which I decide we can probably one-shot if we get a hit. So there is the new angle from the artillery mod, and we fire a shell, hit him dead on. It's important to tell your team when you're playing artillery when you're reloading, which is the F8 key by default, and if you press T while you're highlighting an enemy tank, it will tell you that it will tell your team that you are targeting them. It's very important to communicate with your team in artillery. So I'm just aiming here for if the KV-3 gets spotted again. I communicate to my E25, asking him if he can spot him again so I can try and take him out. But I don't think he's an English speaker and he's having none of it. So I decide to switch my fire when my platoon mate tells me that there are a lot of tanks headed his way. The SE-122-44 is moving much too fast for me, so I try to aim for the relatively stationary Cheeto and he disappears. And then the SE-152 gets spotted. Very dangerous tank who we can one-shot if we penetrate him. So I aim in, fire, and it lands just south of him. I hope these replays will actually come as a surprise to people who think artillery is the easiest sort of tank to play. I don't think it should be buffed or nerfed in any way. It is frustrating when you miss your shots, but it's frustrating when you're playing a tank and you get one-shotted. I think it's fairly balanced at the moment. Probably much more balanced than it was. Fire another shell. Splash, I think just a little bit short of the SE-152. Again, every time I fire a shot, I'm letting my team know how long it is before I can fire again. The worst types of artillery players are players who do not communicate what they're going to shoot at and when, do not tell their team how long they're reloading for, and just generally point and click. So the E25 just rushed straight up to my platoon mate in the Digger Max and destroyed him. I took a random clutch shot to the E25. I'm still getting used to the shell travel time in this tank. It seems to be fairly slow. And if the gun sight was working properly, it would actually tell me my angle of elevation. But apparently it's not working in the replays. I wish the replays wouldn't break so many things. It makes me wonder why I don't do live commentaries. So I'm aiming for the T-28, I got nothing better to aim at than is the KV-3, and this will be one of those frustrating shots. Tell my team I'm attacking him, aim in, change my sight to the alternative one. I think it's a sure kill. I know he's travelling pretty fast down there. I fire, and it hits just a bit high and misses. That could have been a game-changing shot. There's the SE-152 again, so I quickly rotate my artillery piece and start aiming at him, and he's dead. There's E25 on full HP. Very dangerous tank indeed. Switch my fire, try and get a shot at him on the move. And we fire where I predict he will be. And as you can tell, there was no explosion, so the shell hit him directly. He pops up again shortly. And yes, you can see he's crippled. Now I'm not going to lie, that was a difficult shot, and I have played artillery quite a lot. I am up to the GW Tiger P in the German line. Definitely enjoying the French more than the Germans at the moment though. There's a T150, and this is where the weakness of the tank starts to show. The 7-second aiming time is now showing itself to be quite long. The KV-3 has reared its ugly head after I missed him, but got swiftly destroyed by the Hellcat. And I do owe this Hellcat a round of applause for his upcoming actions. Obviously he swoops over to come and try and help me against the T150. I'm trying my best to aim for where the T150 will be. And I'm trying to get shots on him. I should have shot there. But I wait and wait and wait. And he's just travelling forward too fast. I just can't get my sights on him. And because of the flat firing arc of this tank, I end up not being able to get a shot, even when he's right there. I'm desperately trying to help this Hellcat out, but if I move I'll be spotted, and he could one-shot me. I'm desperately trying to get a shot in this turret, trying to zoom back a bit more, goes right over the top of him. But the Hellcat, spoilers, does a fantastic job and takes out the T150. And then the Su-85, who is clearly one of the best players I've ever seen, tells me that I fucked up, which I did. But obviously, I mean, come on. If you've played RT at all, you will know that it is not the easiest sort of tank to play. Generally, the people who whine about artillery are people who will whine about anything. People who whine about premium tanks, gold ammunition, anything like that. You know, I don't like gold ammunition. That noob lol comment, by the way, was meant for my platoon mate. We were talking in Skype. What was I saying? Oh, it's artillery. If you moan about artillery, you've just got to accept that it's a game mechanic. It's not moving out of the game. You either watch replays of how artillery works and learn how to deal with it, or you keep moaning about it and ruining your game experience while not really achieving anything in particular yourself. So the E25 is running about somewhere on 100 odd HP. FV304 is spotted over there on full HP. There's the E25. God knows how he got up there. Probably raced to the middle and ran straight up onto the hill. There's the FV304. As you can see, this tank is going... It'd be going about 45 kilometers an hour if this bloody replay wasn't jittering so much. Not sure what's taking the other tanks so long to shoot at this FV304, but I decide, oh well, if you're not going to shoot him I will. Aiming in on him. And we hit him flush. That's when the aiming time seemed like a long time. So that was quite a long replay. I think I'll do one more and then we'll have a summary. So, match number 2. An assault game on Karelia. We are the attackers. It's a tier 8 game, and I'm in a fantastic little French artillery. Is the camera doing that weird zoom out thing again? Well, it was. So we've started on the south side, and I'm thinking, where the hell should I go? Should I go up on the top of the hill? No, that's suicide. I'll get spotted from the base and get raped as soon as I fire a shot. So I decide to park my little French artillery piece just on the back of this hill at an angle so I can kind of compensate for the bad gun arc. And I aim, well, around the base. I'm sure there'll be tanks up on the hill to spot soon enough. I'm not sure why the replay camera is just drifted south, but that seems to have fixed it. And we are fully aimed in. That droning noise, by the way, when it's aiming in, is, I'm sure, it's Kriegstreiber's gun or turret reverse sounds. If that's annoying, you'll have to let me know and I'll turn it off. I think it's pretty cool, but it can be irritating sometimes in artillery because it just is a constant droning noise. So I see the KV-85, I try and predict where he's going to go and fire. Just a bit off target, and we miss. So now we're reloading again. Switch my attention to the IS-3, zoom in on him, change my gun sights, try and predict his movement as we reload him. He's being tracked, tell my team I'm attacking him, and we fire. Finish off the IS-3. Tell my team I'm reloading. I know artillery gameplay is going to be quite boring, but I want to show you guys how artillery works. Now, for those of you who think this alternative gun sight or alternative camera when you're firing artillery is overpowered, it's not overpowered. It's not giving you any more advantages, really, than if you were in the normal sight. You're still in an artillery vulnerable position. It just makes it a bit easier to aim the shot. That doesn't mean that the dispersion isn't going to screw you over, as I will show later in the replay. So I'm aiming for whatever I can see. The little ELC AMX, I kind of have a glancing thought and trying to shoot in the arse, but then I think, no, that's probably not going to hit. And here's the Jagdtiger 88, side on to me, the perfect shot. As you can see, I'm in the alternate gun sight. I fire fully aimed in, and it sails right over his arse. So now I'm reloading. I think, okay, I'll hit him with my second shot. Aiming flat onto him. He's going back and forth. He doesn't seem to have much of an idea that he's being shot at. Or maybe he's too busy targeting the tanks in front of him. About to finish reloading. Fire again. And the shot lands just short of him this time. Are you beginning to see a trend in my shots? So we switch our attention, having enough of him, to the AMX AC-46, the Tier 7 French tank destroyer. Fairly well armoured from the front, can be a bit of a tough nut to crack, but we can see just the front of his tank and he thinks he's safe. So we fire. We hit him for 285 from splash damage, and he's dead. So now we turn our attention to the T-34 and the Löwe. And as you can see, this is where I'm going to explain the advantage-disadvantage situation with this camera. The camera is showing me that I can hit him. That's an advantage in and of itself. And as you can see, the shot goes straight over. This isn't affecting my accuracy at all. This camera angle gives no advantage other than perhaps being able to loop shells between objects. Doesn't affect your gun dispersion, doesn't affect where the shot's gonna go. It's not really that much of an advantage. So we fire again. Second shot hits the rock. As you can see, if I had hit this guy by now, we would have done a nice amount of damage to him. And that's a normal gun sight. So you can see it is an advantage in... what do you call it? I'm not sure what you'd call it. Something optics. So we fire our third shot. Is this one going to hit? Yes, finally we've got a penetrate, well, not a penetrating, but a direct hit on the T-34. And I'm sure he has no bloody idea where he got shot from. He's probably thinking he got shot by our Löwe or something to the south. As I'm sure he thinks, because he's hide rocks, he is artillery safe. So we reloading again. But another shot there, because I'm sure he's still there, just appears, and we hit him on the engine deck, I believe, on the top of his hull, which has relatively thin armour, and we penetrate and do full damage. The Lover there is coming out from where he thinks he's artillery safe. Tell my team I'm attacking him. Aim for his Christmas pudding turret. Try and loop the shell. Is it gonna hit? Of course not, it goes way too far over. The Jagdtiger, interestingly, is still alive, so I turn my attention to him, as he's just destroyed one of the tanks that was attacking him. He's almost dead, but the SU-100M1 will have difficulty going through him. So I tell him I'm attacking him. As long as he can hold off, I will try and finish him off. He stopped. Fire my shot. And I like to think that I saved the SU-100M1's life. Now I can switch back to the other flank and turn my attention back to the remaining enemy tanks. There's a Panther, desperately trying to reload so I can get more damage off on him. Still reloading. The Panther's losing health rapidly. And fire my shot. And it lands just after the IS-3 shot hits. And assault games are limited to, I forget how much they're limited to, but it's much less time. So that indicator on the battle timer, I can't see it at the moment because my replay thing is there, my recording software, sorry. But I think it's about 3 minutes when that is highlighted. So last two tanks are the Borsig and a Lover. Borsig I can one-shot if I see him. Borsig very thinly armoured, open top vehicle, do a hell of a lot of damage with HE. And unfortunately they're both in an absolute artillery safe position, where I am at the moment. So I kind of just watch the Lover get, well, you get the picture. This guy is getting absolutely destroyed. So I've got a nice bird's eye view watching this guy's death. He seems to have given up. He didn't reload, maybe he's ammo racked. That's the game. I fire a victory shell, and that's that. So let's jump back to the garage just to recap what we've done. So that was a brief, well, I say brief, the replays were quite long. That was an overview of the AMX 13F3AM Tier 6 French tank destroyer. If you'd like to see more artillery replays or gameplay, let me know. I'm a bit wary about how people are going to take these replays. Not many people who cover World of Tanks on YouTube cover self-propelled guns, and I would like to cover them quite a lot. But I'm curious as to why they've not been covered. Do people just not enjoy watching them? Do people not enjoy playing them? Do they think the replays are boring? You guys will have to let me know, because I'm still learning my audience. I apologise this video is going up a day late, and I apologise that LA Noir and that will be affected by this. They'll be going up a day late as well. I've been unprecedentedly busy in the week. But fear not, I'm still carrying on. I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I may limit the amount of replays I do and kind of do these overviews. I wouldn't really call this a review. I'm probably going to go with what I said earlier and call it, like, I don't know, something stupid and, you know, something like a day in the life of the AMX 13F3AM. God, that's a mouthful. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope the audio is better as well. I managed to boost my microphone up a bit, so hopefully you can hear me more clearly, instead of me having to almost shout. So, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment and subscribe if you thought it was helpful. Let me know what you thought. Thank you for watching again, and I'll see you next time.